You're very faint.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Change the January 3rd, 2023. Trails Committee, first one for the year.
Can't hear you really.
Now I can't hear
can't.
you. Could hear you before.
I don't know what to say.
Oh, there you are.
There you are.
Yeah.
Do you have a thin internet connection or?
No, I have a good internet connection.
Hmm.
Let me just check my USBs.
I can hear you now.
It could be
Alright.
that you were too far from your mic. That's a possibility.
Maybe. So thank you. So anyway, I'll call the meeting to order at 7:33. And when I call your name, we'll do a roll call. Let me know that you're here. Satyendra Sharma,
Here.
Will Warren,
Here.
Tom McCoolier,
Here.
Isabella Bogdansky,
Here.
and Kat McKee here. Great. Welcome all. Okay, so we'll start with the minutes. So I did send them a little bit later, although Sati had sent them the night of. It's just been a busy time. Do you want me to pull them up and we walk through them, or have you had an opportunity to review them?
I don't have any issues with them. I read him.
Okay,
No issues.
okay. Sati, you wrote them, so
No,
Bella,
no
how are you?
issues, no issues. Yeah.
Okay.
They look good to me.
Okay, great. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Seconded.
Great. Tom and seconded by Will. All right, let's do roll call vote. Will Warren,
Aye.
Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
Isabella Bogdansky,
Yes.
and Kat McKee. Yes, great. So thank you. Motion to approve the minutes passed. Okay. Next update on our agenda is a quick update on the status of the memorandum of agreement with DCR. So we have not yet heard back from DCR as to whether they will be able to accept the volunteer agreement in lieu instead of the MOA. So I'll reach out again this week. It's probably because it was right around the holidays, so we did expect some delays with that. So I'll check with them and see where we are with that. We do need the MOA or some version of an agreement in place before we can begin work on the Peninsula Trail. So hopefully that will come through in the coming weeks. It would be ideal if it was by the end of January, but there is going to be a new commissioner, DCR commissioner appointed, which may cause a delay or two. We'll see.
That's at the state level?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So any questions on that? Okay. Okay. And so Mass Trails Grant Contracting, the purpose of we're meeting every Tuesday in January to scope out and write our bid that we have to submit or have posted. And this is outside of the Mass Trails Grant. If we remember, we have two buckets. One's going to be the Mass Trails Grant bucket and then the bid bucket. Quick update on the Mass Trails Grant. So I submitted we needed to, based on our last conversation, we needed to revise the scope of the project that's going to fit under the $50,000 umbrella plus match. So I did that. I submitted the amendment, the Mass Trails Grant amendment, which changed the scope. And when we say change the scope, it's all the same project that we've been talking about for years. We're just limiting what project components get labeled under Mass Trails Grant. So we have a couple buckets, right? And so the amendment was approved today. So we have a final copy of that, and it's basically, I'll share screen so you can see. Let's see. Okay. Let me know when you see a grant amendment request form.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is where we updated our match. So we initially proposed 87,000 for a match. That was when we had the larger scope project, all the project components. So now our match has been changed to 30,572. That number includes the 22,000 from DPW, and it includes match from our, I think we're gonna, part of the ADA consulting, we're gonna match and use that as a match. Some plantings was included in that, and then our labor for executing the grant. And the labor went down significantly because we're only, for the Mass Trails grant, overseeing the fencing and the signage. So I had to modify that, and it's all estimates, so we may exceed, but I will share that with you when we get to it, so that we each try to make our, so now that we've committed, this is our match, we have to, you know, spend $30,572 of in-kind supports plus labor, or plus the other project components. So we'll each have like a bucket of hours that we'll need to be tracking against. And we want to make sure that we're not gonna, you know, we obviously, it is what it is, but we want to make sure we're hitting our targets in the right way. So basically this form asked us why we're changing our scope. So I kind of go through, this was our large scope. And then because they limited it to 50, this is our revised scope. Okay. And then this form continues to talk about the budget, and let's see, that's pretty simple. And then in addition to this grant agreement amendment, we had to submit a grant initiation form. So again, some of this information, so I went ahead and added like what our updated match would be. And they want a brief description of the project, which I took some of this from our grant application, but also modified it slightly. So again, it's kind of just going through the project scope, which again, for our purposes, is relocating the access gate, installing 2 accessible parking spaces, install fencing around existing water supply infrastructure, and install interpretive signs. They ask about the ownership. So we have already submitted this documentation in the grant. So they're just confirming that the owner, the landowners, which in this case is MWA and DCR, have given permission to have this project done, and they have. So community outreach updates, we did extensive community outreach before, and we talked about in our last meeting about sending updated letters to our abutters, which I did not do over the holidays, and will do in early January, where we are now. So
Could you share this document with us, or at least place it on the
yeah, I'll show you. I have it on the
new shared
in our
drive?
Peninsula folder. Did everyone get an invitation to the OneDrive folders from Jason,
Yes.
the IT guy, the IT manager? He sent
Yeah.
those. Okay.
Mhm.
It is, it's actually under his account, right?
Well, it's under his name, so it's probably the server in town, or it's not his laptop, because if it shuts off, we don't get access to it.
Right.
It's
Oh,
probably his OneDrive account or something. that
Yeah.
he
yeah, it
given
is. It
permission
is.
for.
But I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm
it's,
surprised it wasn't something like Town of Southborough, then documents, then Trail Committee, instead of a person.
right.
Well, I
And-
think the way 365 works is that the OneDrive is associated with the email user.
No, then it's the
So
town,
then-
yeah.
Yeah. So
We
then-
don't, I mean, that's his job to take care of that.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I didn't get
provided-
any invite from him.
You did not?
No.
Oh, okay. So I'll double check that. And I'll show you what it looks like. Isabella, did you?
Yes, I did.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, Sati, I'll make sure that you're on there. So we have 2 folders, and I'll go through what those folders are.
Wonder if, can we just share it to him now?
He said I
I-
could share it with, he said
Yeah,
he gave
because
permission to be able to add people if they were issues.
yeah,
So
because you could just go right click if you go into like the Trails Committee, or even Trails Committee itself on the right hand side. Are you doing the old version of OneDrive or the classic?
I don't know which one they're set up with. Hold on.
All right. The one has a
funny.
nice blue banner. It looks modern. The other
Oh.
one looks like it's 1980s.
Yeah, right.
That's the new one.
This is, okay.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can
So go all the
share.
way to, nope, go. Yeah, you can do that, but go all the way to the right where it says sharing, but that's the same way.
It's the same thing, yeah, I
Yep.
think.
There you go.
Okay, so T, and then I'll send, so we have two folders. One is the Trails Committee, and that's just all of us and Tim Davis. And then the Peninsula Trail is shared with the broader group, including the Recreation Commission and DPW, I think. And maybe Mark Purple and Melanie too, I think. I'll have to
Yeah,
look.
if you go back to the, down at the bottom, it says return to the classic OneDrive.
I don't
you-
want to, I don't
You
like,
can go back, but I just want to show you one thing. Just go there. Go over to the right. You can see the people that I'm sharing with.
Mhm, okay,
Click on that, you click on the 9 people,
yeah.
click on that, yep. And then you can
Yeah.
see.
So where's my,
Sati,
do I
I just sent you the link that I was sent. You might try it.
how do I get back to my other view?
Go back arrow. Top, yep. There you go.
Okay.
You're back.
Well, so the other way you could do it is if you go share here, right? And then it should show you here.
Oh, does
yeah.
it do the same thing?
Yeah. So there's
Okay.
different little ways of skinning that. I'm not going to say the rest of that sentence because I love Kit Kats. Okay, so
Sati, that I sent you a link as well. Did you
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it.
you got it?
Thanks.
You got
yeah.
it for the peninsula, right? There's also a Trails Committee shoulder as well.
So the contracting, so we have the grant agreement. Here it's 4 signatures. So Mark, we're waiting on, I'll fill you in on
You
that.
gotta move closer. You gotta move closer.
Yeah, your I think your microphone is doing some noise canceling on you or something.
I don't know what's happening.
There you go.
Is that
There
any
you go.
better? I'm literally not doing anything different. Okay. So we were just kind of going over this. So basically the outreach updates. And then the next few sections, they ask about the historic archaeological impact, the wetlands permitting, and the natural heritage endangered species. So this information was provided in the grant agreement. They basically had someone review the project for these impacts, and then we just copied and pasted what the reviewer said. So for example, there's no impacts for historic or archaeological impacts. Wetlands, we are required, and we already have an NOI for the fencing, so we're good there. The other NOI that we need in place is not related to Mass Trails, but we will need it in place for the footbridge, just as a reminder. Let's see, there's no impact here, but I did find it interesting. I'll let you guys kind of read through this, that there are some endangered species, but they won't be impacted by our project. And there's 2 federally listed species that occur in the limits, a long-eared bat, a northern long-eared bat, and an Indiana bat.
Now, are those supposedly in Southborough?
Yeah, that's what this means, is that
Mhm.
these endangered species are located within the project area. However, given the type of project we're doing, there's no impact on those bats.
Okay,
it was
so
interesting to know.
people with long hair may not want to be on this project.
Leave it to you to like add this funny stuff.
No worries there.
Buy America is something we have to do, and we knew that from the specs from MWA, and we do have certifications. If we do, however, change vendors, we'll have to get a new Buy America certification. But we did submit those with the Mass Trails grant application. Accessibility, I described what we are doing for accessibility here. And then any political involvement expected, no. And then that's the end of that document. So the final last piece that we need in place before we can. Hold on, I can't find my control for.
As far as Mass Trails is concerned, the change in governor is not going to change the leadership of
Yes,
Mass
it is.
Trails. Well,
It's going to change the leadership at DCR, the commissioner. appointed.
not at Mass Trails, not at that lower level.
No, I can't, hold on, I'm just having a technical issue. I can't find the Zoom bar. Oh, there it is. Okay, just stop sharing. It was hidden behind my documents. So we're waiting on Mark to sign the agreement, the Mass Trails grant agreement, and I sent it to him last Thursday. He said he would probably be able to get to it today. The timeline is if they can get it to on the docket, if they can submit it by, they said Tuesday, so I don't know if Wednesday morning counts. Then it will get on the next week's docket for DCR for review, and then we get a notice to proceed. So we may have missed that really small window this week because of the holiday. So worst case, we submit it in time for the submission of next week's docket, and then we would be approved, let's say, by the third week in January or something like that. So we would get our notice to proceed. And what that means is we would be ready to talk to our fencing contractor and say, hey, now we can proceed. But we do need to chat with Brian Ballantyne to make sure that there aren't any issues or hangups with the way that the funding is going to work. So we want to make sure we're clear on that. I did have a question. So Tom, you met with New
England fencing.
contractor, and then we met with Mohawk fencing. Did you ever get a quote?
I didn't get any. I was just looking at my emails right now before the meeting. I was like, I didn't get anything from anyone. And then I checked my, the spam folder and stuff. Junk email, they call it.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything.
Yeah.
So
Okay. We got to
I
follow.
mean,
It was near the holidays, so I don't. And technically what this means though, what Mark Purple said is, because I had this sad face when I realized we had to get new quotes, because I was like, we reached out to 8 contractors and only 3 got back to us, in 2020. It was really difficult. And he's like, even if, so the act of reaching out to the vendor does count as an updated quote. If they choose not to get back to you, that's their choice. And we've done our due diligence.
Is there a a requisite amount of time to wait?
We've waited it. We've reached
Well,
it. We can't be I mean, they, Mohawk said he'd get it to us by the end of the week. We met with him, on a Wednesday, something like that.
It was like Wednesday, Thursday, or Thursday,
And
Friday.
then New England on Tuesday. On Thursday. Was that when was that? Was that the week of
14th.
Oh
was
yeah,
like
so it was a week before Christmas. I know everyone's busy, but it wasn't like it was the week of Christmas. So
okay. I mean, as long as that's,
we're going to reach out to them though. I like to get the quotes in hand. I think that's far more appropriate than not trying. And so they'll send us their quotes. And then it's up to us to choose the vendor. And part of the criteria is I'd like to understand a reference, get a couple references from them. Because I think having experience working for the state and municipalities is very important to ensure that they will do a quality job. And I'd like to talk to a municipality that one or two of them have.
Can we consider their references in our assessment of?
We can, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I think they're both going to have very good references. New England fencing is the one on Route 9 here in Southborough, and the other one does a lot of work with a lot of different towns in Metro West. So
Any fence does, but
Yeah.
I didn't get a sense that Mohawk, I didn't get a sense that he did a lot of that or not.
I thought they did. Remember, he wasn't the original guy; it was a bigger guy that came out.
But that's any fence.
Oh, anything. And I'm
Yeah.
confusing the two. Any fence.
But Mohawk, one advantage to Mohawk is they are, we found them under the supplier diversity program with the Commonwealth. So they, it's nice when you can contract with a small diverse business because you're promoting that small diverse business. And that's the point of that program. However, I do need the references, and he hasn't. Hey, Tom, do you happen to have Mohawk's email? Would you be able to send out an email request to him too?
All right, I just sent out the one to New England fencing. Let me look for that.
Okay.
I probably do. I don't.
His
throw away
name, I
anything.
forget what it was, but if you don't mind, that would be super
No,
helpful.
I will do. I don't have the any fence one. If I do, that's
We're good on any fence. Any fence already
Okay.
sent updated one. We've been, and they didn't need to do another estimate.
Okay, all right, cool. Yeah, I will take care of the other one.
I think is it Mike? Mike
Okay.
O'Brien. So, okay, so
So these bid examples that you have put on the drive is that what we're trying to sort of hit?
yeah, it's a little overwhelming. Let me show you the screen again. It kind of gets,
Hmm.
let me just make sure, is there anyone in the audience? No. Okay, great. Okay, so we're in contract. I'm getting out of here, going to bid examples. Okay, so what the examples are, and there's one that's duplicated in here. So this Word version is the terms and conditions. You're going to see me looking elsewhere because I have 3 screens, so I'm sorry about that. But the Word version is the town's updated terms and conditions for contracts under 250,000. So that has to go in the bid.
Okay.
So what I did was I went ahead and put it in the bid template, and this bid template, Tim sent it to me. And I had to scan in. Are you seeing a PDF with a highlight?
Yep.
The bid template. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is a long document. Wow.
Well, it's only long because the bid document the template I got from Tim was 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, right?
Right.
It's the rest of it is the standard contract in terms. That's, that's
okay.
stuff that we don't need to mess with necessarily, but that's what the town requires for the bid. So we might have some fill in the blank stuff here. But what we need to do first is come up with our specs. And this page would go away. Standard contract for project types are inserted here, and then I've inserted them. So basically we just need to come up with our specs. And if we think of what we need to, as far as specs, come up with, and I can just actually pull up a Word document and start.
No,
drafting.
Catherine, just to level set, we're gonna be doing 2 of these, one for the fencing and one for the big project.
No, sir.
We don't have to
Fencing-
do for the fencing. That's the
Yeah,
part I
fencing.
forgot.
Yeah. And I wanted to make sure that Mark and Melanie and Tim were all on board with that we did not have to do a bid. It doesn't meet the procurement requirement. It's under 50,000. So we're in the clear.
Okay, good. That's really good news.
And we don't have to consolidate it with the rest of the project.
Right. We're
Okay.
keeping it separate.
Okay, good.
So our project specs, we're doing, I'd hate to rewrite this when I've already written it out. Let me just pull from something. Hang on. Yeah, this one. Yeah. Okay. Oops. Okay, so this is our core. No, I'm pulling the wrong stuff. Oh dear. Where is this? Yeah, this. Okay. This is what it is. Okay, right. So the way we, oh geez. So we need a project manager, right? To oversee the project as defined here. And this isn't final, so I'm just making some notes here, and so we'll talk about it. So the project manager is going to be responsible for hiring companies to do this work, right? So I'm kind of flying blind as far as how to necessarily write up what the project manager needs to do. We have specs on the boardwalk and the footbridge from the quotes that we have. So we can use those, insert specs for these components, so that's going to be kind of easy. I think what we need to do is we need an overview like a project overview, which we can use a lot of the language we've already written. Right?
Mhm.
The project overview for this section, not the Mass Trails Grant piece, right?
The items that you listed here, have they, can we find examples where other people have spec'd these out?
I'd love to. It seems that, and this would be where we can do some research. The, what did he call? And Will, you were in the meeting when we talked about the website that we have to post on. It was, General Public Procurement Assistance. No. You remember when we were with,
Yes,
Mark?
I do.
I don't remember what they called it.
I'll find that for you.
It's not Combis, because Combis is something else that the state uses to procure.
Yeah, I'll find
I
it for
thought
you.
it
It's
was
a,
AG's office.
right. Oh, no, I'll look that up and find it for you.
Yeah. And so I think if we have to post there, then they're going to have past bids on that site. So we might be able to find an example of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm wondering if some of the traily folks that we've run into.
They will for sure. And this is where also we can talk to people in the industry, similar to people we've spoken to before about this project, and ask for some guidance, like they might have some examples.
Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these kinds of bridges and boardwalks have been done and done and done. Right.
Well, we have the specs for the boardwalk and the footbridge, but it's really about constructing the bid to the right, like the right degree of detail for the project overview, how to describe the project manager, if it's just.
Well, you have to describe it, but project overview, the project, it's not really the bid overview. The Southborough Trails Committee is looking for the following: project manager to oversee the project, the install, the project manager should be one of the blue things. And inside each one of that, we cut and paste, we look out what a project manager specs would be from some other project. And then we go and then describe each one of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets. Project manager is one of the, you can say the same thing. Insert specs on project manager responsibilities.
Right.
Just like you have on the other ones. You said insert specs. Project manager should be insert specs on project manager's role and responsibilities.
Now, is this a project manager or a general contractor?
It's however they want to define that role.
Yeah, right. And really, we're looking for probably a company to serve as the project manager who has experience with trails.
We want someone to do, and that's the goal, is to get one company for those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullet items.
But we need to write it specific enough that that we get what we want, and that it doesn't.
Well, you're talking about his roles and responsibilities.
Yep. And including the boardwalk, the footbridge, and so that we're getting,
the specific enough to reference experience of doing this to other, when you say specific, we just want to make sure the project manager has experience doing these types of projects.
Right, yeah.
Okay, but is the general contractor different from the project manager? The general
Call them the
contractor.
same thing. Call them the same thing. Someone in charge to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so, that's fine. So it's a general contractor, and, he's responsible for making certain that the boardwalk that we spec and the bridge we spec get built on the schedule we spec, right?
Well, the project manager will come back to us. But once we hire the company that does all this stuff, the project manager will then come back to us with a project plan. That's their job, is to create a plan and then execute the plan in that timely, the timely manners. Those are all the responsibilities of in my mind, a project manager is a project manager is a project manager, or a general contractor is a general drug contractor. They know how long it takes. They have their subs, in this case, hopefully be the same company as their subs. And they'll just manage the project, make sure the subs come in and, cancel them if it's gonna rain, bring them all in if it's not.
So the project
Um,
manager will go out and find the right subs, is what you're
Oh,
saying.
yeah, that's
Well,
their
I'm
role.
curious, do we remember, Will, or does anyone recall us talking about and having an answer to this next question, which is, we're gonna put this to bid and the whole project is one,
Yep.
and the project manager is gonna bid on this whole project. Does he then have to go to bid for each of these, like for the boardwalk and footbridge?
My understanding, and once again, I'll look this up for you, but my understanding was no, that he is essentially telling us that I can do it for this amount of money, and then it's his deal, right? So in other words, we're asking for the whole boat. We're getting that bid as a whole boat, and then he's responsible for deciding who's going to provide the hull and the engines and all of that. But he doesn't have to go back out to bid for that.
Okay, that's good then. And
I don't
But
think
he-
he's a black box as far as we're concerned, was my understanding.
Isn't it the general contractor or project manager's responsibility to let us know how it should be built? I mean, we can give the specs, but the person who is overseeing will know how and what
will
material
have
is needed and
experience.
everything.
Yes, they wouldn't,
Yeah.
one of our criteria will be that they have specific experience
Yeah,
with footbridge building and boardwalk building or overseeing such projects, not doing it
Yeah.
themselves.
Right. However, I mean, we're going to be speccing to the level that we want something that can hold up for so many years, hold so much weight, cross a certain distance on a certain type of ground, that kind of stuff.
I
Right,
think that's already done, Catherine, when we actually got all the bids for all those components, right?
what is done.
What Will just said.
And what did you just say?
What I said was that we will be responsible for saying how big the bridge is, how long
Yes,
it is,
yes.
all of that.
Well,
Now,
we have to put that in the bid.
right now, in terms of in terms of as far, they'll come out and take a look at the site, I would imagine, and say, do I need to get dynamite here, or do I just dig down, or what? Is the bridge that you want, can I easily get a bridge that's going to cover that distance and hold up for that length of time that you're specifying, right?
Yep. Yeah, and the site visit will be part of so we're going to do a public forum, right? And so we're going to do a site visit and invite vendors to the site to
Right,
see what we're looking to do.
right.
One of the questions I have, and this is what I'm not quite sure how to answer, and the group reached out to us to say, hey, are we still on for a spring schedule, which was the Student Conservation Association
Right.
that we contacted with, and we're on the wait list for this spring to do this bridge, or to put it together, to put the kit together. But that's kind of linked with what the project manager is supposed to do. So it's a little tricky to schedule that because the project manager is going to schedule that.
Can you back up? You're talking about what? The
So-
Conservation Corps, or?
Part of our Mass Trails grant we put together was we included funding to have the Student Conservation Association. It was recommended to us that we could use the Student Conservation Association, who has familiarity with putting these kits together, and use them for $9,500 flat fee. They can do a project for 2 weeks and they put the bridge together and the boardwalk together for us, right? And that contact just reached out to us. Will, when we were at the conference, we went up to their table. You might have remembered in the very beginning in the morning,
Yeah.
and we talked to him, and the guy that we dealt with, Bryce, wasn't there, but his colleague was. So I owe
Okay.
them an email to say how this is, are we still on the list or not? And I don't exactly know how to line it up and say, yes, we're still on the list, when we don't know that the project manager, if it's not Conservation Works, for example, if they don't win the bid, we don't know if another company will use FCA.
Okay, so let's back up a minute here. when all the dust settles, we may not use Conservation Corps at all because they may not be included in the winning bid, correct?
Correct.
Okay, fine. So when you say the $9,500 in a particular, now, is part of our spec that we're saying we want this particular kit?
It's
We have
question-
general specs of what's acceptable for a bridge in the wetlands. There's
Okay,
not that many, there is some variations, but this is like the common, going through wetlands bridges.
Right,
if-
and it might be that another company suggests something else.
Right,
Okay, so-
which is okay. We're not tied to anything, but we have to give specs, and these are the specs. This is something that's very common. People have been
Yeah.
doing it. It's environmentally friendly, goes across wetlands, etc.
okay,
If
does,
they
And
have
it's
something
fiberglass
better
and
and cheaper,
Long
That's-
lasting.
that's good.
Well, that's what, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is, I guess, if we want a 65-foot footbridge and we leave it at that and let the contractors come back to us with what types of bridge we could get, that's one option. Or we do 65-foot footbridge of fiberglass and and it's a kit, that type of thing. That's where we have flexibility to be very specific or not. And in some cases, it might be better to be a little open, but this is where we might get into some interesting territory is if we just put a footbridge out there and we have a contractor that says, yeah, I'll put a wood bridge up there for you for $40,000 and we're proposing a $75,000-$80,000 fiberglass, his bid's going to win.
yes,
Right. And
but
we don't want a wood bridge because we've been instructed
Well-
and talked to some experienced people that a fiberglass bridge is more expensive, but we're a small committee. We don't have time or money for labor, for maintenance and all sorts of things. And these bridges will last 75 years.
well,
So
that
that's
could
where
be
we
part
get
of
very-
that could be part of our spec, is just that we want a bridge that'll last 75 years with.
Or we want a fiberglass bridge.
minimal-
Our spec is
minimal
what we already
maintenance.
spec'd out. I mean, if they can do something comparable, that's fine.
Okay,
Right.
But I think our
right.
spec is that spec.
So I
And
think
the-
that's where
okay.
we get specific, right?
okay, so the Conservation Corps, if they end up not being part of this project, they'll be okay with that?
Well, it depends. I don't exactly know how it works or how we're gonna line this up. We can't be on their waiting list if they can't get a guarantee from us, right? We might need to say, don't put us on the first and second list, wait, push us out in the year so that we can figure this out. And then you might be used. We're not sure, right? I
Well-
don't know exactly how to answer their question so that we're being fair to them and we're not taking another project spot.
But I
But-
guess,
Yeah.
I guess the question is, the contractor, is the contractor going to be constrained to use them, or is the contractor free to use someone else?
Well, I think that's the way it's up to them, right? And it could be up to the way we write the proposal, like the bid. We could put in I don't know if and this is where we need some guidance from some experts, but I don't know if we could put in the bid that we prefer to use Student Conservation Association for the labor, because if they propose a different bridge and the Student Corps doesn't do that, because they've already approved our project, this other project that was, so I don't know. I don't know if we can say we want to use them. We could say strong preference given to those who want to use SCA. We could maybe do something like that.
Well, that's not exactly entirely true. Because
What is-
remember the only real criteria on the bid is if they're going to meet your spec, it's the lowest price.
Yeah, but remember, if there's criteria written in the bid and they don't meet it, even though they're the lowest bidder, that could disqualify them.
Okay,
That's
but
why writing it is really important.
yeah, but
in the-
saying something like strong preference given,
That's what I'm saying. I don't
Is-
know what.
that's not true. That would not be true. If we said use them or else, yes, but I don't think we can. I don't think we could say we're going to take this bid over your bid. Your bid's cheaper, but they're using the Conservation Corps, and so we're going to disregard the fact that you're lower price, unless we require that they use the Conservation Corps.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So got it. And that's where I want some advice. I
Okay.
think we could use some guidance on how to kind of write that out. And again, like what we're allowed to write in it, also like, I'm sure there's some rules and regs.
So
Let
who
me-
decides on the bid? Who, I mean, us, the committee, or there's somebody from the town?
Well,
How do we decide on the bid? Is the committee responsible for that, or the project manager, or how does it work?
this bid,
Yeah.
we're responsible for this.
Oh, okay.
With the guidance of, I think Rec Commission could help look over the, final one before we send it out, as well as, Tim Davis, the rec director, will be,
Right.
they've written, if you look at the one he sent, the example in OneDrive, which I don't need to pull it up right now, it's very complicated. Very complicated. So we're lucky that it's not that complicated. It's just knowing how to kind of go about it is tricky.
But my understanding was the opening of the bids is basically, you open them up and you make sure that they're going to meet all of your specs, right?
Well, I think the process is you open the price proposal first, because you ask for it in a separate envelope,
So you open the price proposal first.
and then you choose your vendor that way. Yep.
If,
then
well, at some point you have to make sure that the bid,
Yes.
that
And the
their
second-
bid actually meets all your specs.
Yes. Yep. And
I
then
would
you,
think that's the first step before the price proposal.
I think,
Well, yeah, I mean, if they don't do.
Yeah,
what-
well, I think you look at the price proposal first, and then you follow up by looking at the other and making sure that the lowest bid does meet your
Yeah,
specs.
has
And
everything.
if
Right,
it does,
right.
and you don't have a reason not to use them, then that's the way. you-
Right. Now, one other question, you had mentioned a gentleman with the first name of Dick who,
Yeah, that's Conservation Works.
okay, I mean,
That's a company, Conservation Works.
so they're going to be bidding.
Yes, they would be a bidder.
And if they do win the bid, if they, they come in and they win the bid, in all likelihood, Dick would be the guy, their guy who would actually be on this project.
Yeah. Correct.
But if they don't win, he won't be.
Right, correct.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, I was listening to the conversation, and Conservation Works, Dick works for Conservation Works, right? Are we looking for a contractor, general contractor, project manager to oversee this stuff with this budget? So we're not looking for when we send this out to bid, these are our specs. Does Dick's company doesn't have all those people that are gonna do this? They're gonna outsource the help,
That's
isn't it?
That's right. That's where he serves as the project manager role. the
And,
contractor.
and so we're gonna have a dollar amount for this bid, right? Can you do it for this bid? And yes, I could do it for less than this bid.
We
but
don't
what-
put the dollar amount. I don't think.
I don't think we do either. I think, we
I've
put
seen
out,
the bid. Yeah,
we put out what we want. They
And
come
then-
back and they may
Right.
come back and say, we can do it for 3x of what you thought you were going to get it for, and no one else can go lower. In which
No, I know,
case,
then that was my follow-up thought, was
Then we
exactly
can't-
what you're going down, Will.
because
Everybody's
Mark,
above we have a number, we can't go above our number, because that's what's allocated to this
Right.
project. They don't know
Yep.
what our number is,
they don't know what
but
our
if
number
everybody
is.
comes above the number, then we
Right.
have to.
Well,
then-
I believe that's the situation with the senior center right now, that
yeah. And that
the
happened
senior
with the
center
golf
went
course.
out to bid and everything came back a lot more expensive than they thought.
So what
Do
do they
we
have to
know-
do, Will?
Can we
Just
see
send
the
it
senior
out.
center bid? I mean, I'd be curious to see that one too.
I would love to. Yeah, why not?
That should be public. Like, is it on? It should be like.
It should be somewhere.
I
Um,
think that'd be either Tim Davis or John Parent, right?
Probably John Parent is.
Probably
Yeah,
John
Tim
Parent.
Davis is not in rec.
He's rec. Parent would be the guy.
Yeah.
Facilities.
Is he?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is a chance we take, Tom. And I think they did that we'd have to go out to bid again. Is that what the senior center has done, Will? Do you know?
When we were speaking to Mark and Tim, I believe what they said is that they were going to kind of wait and then go back and scratch their heads and think about maybe downsizing. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I think the problem for them was that they were put that out to bid when the supply chain issues were still being resolved.
Yeah.
And also when, people were rushing to begin building again.
We could run into the same issue. We might. It
We
just-
might, we might not.
It's a different industry. So it's not like everyone's racing to do footbridges for trails.
They're not,
So-
yeah, they're not racing to use kits to build footbridges. Is our footbridge really going to be 65 feet?
Yeah.
That's a significant bridge.
I mean, we measured it, and I think that's the thing, Tom, and the group, that we should probably put an average estimate, right? It's estimated 65, because we
Right.
did we dragged a long tape measure across the bridge to get these measurements, right? And we tried to do the best we could, but we're not engineers, and we don't, it could be 68 or it could be 62.
I think the key thing we need is we need a certain elevation and rise in terms of the approaches to the bridge, right? They
It
can't
does,
be too
because-
steep. You
Right.
can't be too far down so it gets swept away by the first flood or any of that.
Well, right, and remember, Stony Brook is a release. They release the water from the dam, so that level changes. And it also has to be ADA compliant because federal funds are being used, even though there's not ADA on either side of it.
Right.
It does open up an opportunity to make it all ADA eventually, which is great. So, but yeah, and then there's certain foundations to foundation to use that's minimally invasive.
Well,
and then
the
there's engineers that have to come out and examine the bridge and make sure the specs are gonna work, and that's almost $10,000. Yeah.
this might be a very good question for either Tim Davis or for John Parent, which would be, and also for Mark Purple, which is, do we need to hire an engineer who
Yeah,
can at
we do.
least give us the specs that we need, to really go and measure correctly what we need in terms of
Nope,
the
that's gonna
bridge?
be the project manager handling all of that. So I
Well,
spoke
how-
with VHB
We're
Consulting.
gonna have them do a site visit. They have to do their due diligence to bid on this project.
But
Yeah.
we have to say that, for instance, the approaches to the bridge cannot be too steep. And we also have to say how far above the level of the stream it needs to be, right?
But they
I
should, they are supposed to be knowing this. That's what the whole
Right,
thing is.
I don't know that we need to say it's gonna be 4 feet above the water.
Right.
That's gonna be a detail that we talk about when we get an engineer's, consult, that type of stuff, when we bring that in. So the project manager, these are gonna be some of the things that they have to work through. They have to hire an engineer firm to do all of this, to get the permitting, to make sure the inspections go through and that kind of stuff.
I would just, that's a question I would run past John Parent and just say,
I wouldn't. I've spoken to VHB Consulting, so I'm not sure what
Cause that's gonna
exactly.
cost, then we might as well just spec everything to the.
no. I'm not
detail.
talking about a super detailed spec. I'm just saying,
Once you put a spec in there, it has to be an engineering approved spec, and that's gonna cost money. If you say it has to be 4 feet above the water level, that's
think-
now.
I
you
think
made
the
a
way we work
statement.
with this is that the project manager needs to be able to work with engineers and state agencies to determine the proper height of the bridge.
And get the appropriate approvals, engineering stamps and approvals through town, county,
Okay.
state,
Yeah.
guidelines.
the reason I mention it is that there might be some town money lying around that can be used for this purpose. Mark Purple, for instance, has like $35,000 fund or something that he can use for stuff. And, there may be others. This is an issue that comes up with the ADA committee often, which is that, and also Tim Davis, in terms of, what's it going to take to make a compliant walkway here around this recreation field or things like that.
Right.
So I'm just, yeah, I agree. I mean, we don't want, well, let's just put it this way. If there's some free money lying around, let's get it.
Well, so nothing's for free, but
Well, yes and no.
we've already budgeted for this, right? So we, in the ARPA money, we have money for a consultant. Like we budgeted, I talked to VHB, they gave me a rough estimate. of what it would cost to do an inspection and stuff. So we tried to budget for some of these items,
Okay.
including permitting costs and stuff like that. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to go over and then we might not need more money. But I'm not sure that we're in a position right now to go after any other money.
Okay, but
We don't know if we need
the-
money.
the consultant money that you're talking about, is that going to be part of the bid? Is it going to be before or after the bid?
It would be, it's part of the bid. So part
Okay.
of what the general contractor has to do is work with an engineering firm to ensure that the bridge installation, first of all, that the bridge is a physically engineered stamped plan, right? And then that the inspection happens and that they stamp it as safe and
Okay.
secure.
So in our, we won't call it a secret, we will call it our secret dollar amount for this project included things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
we'll
So our
detail-
secret, and we can't, because this is a recorded, anybody can see it. We actually have a approved budget for this, approved both ARPA funds and other funds, CPA.
Right,
All those details is into that number. So we made sure we didn't shortchange it. We tried
Okay.
to account for everything that we could possibly think of. And like you said, the engineering stamps and all that stuff. We know that whoever wins this bid is gonna have to pay for that. And
Okay.
we want to make sure our
Yeah.
budget of money that we have for this included all those type of things.
Yeah.
now, with respect to the location of the bridge, the exact location, are we frozen in stone on that one?
Pretty close to frozen.
Well, yeah, because the river's there.
No, I mean, the river's there, but the river's not, the river's long and there could be alternate places to site the bridge.
Well, I think we've already done a site visit.
Yeah.
So
So-
we're set in stone as to, we want the bridge to right here.
I think, well, it's
If
not.
you go
set
to
in
the
stone.
site, it's quite obvious. There's very limited places you could put it that makes sense.
Okay,
And
that's
part
good.
Part of the reason is the way the line works, the trail line, right?
Yep.
And so we put the boardwalk in because that has to go over a little section next to the road. Then you go straight, and then that's when it overlaps the river or the stream. If you go further down, like you might have a little flexibility, but then you're getting into building a trail along the stream, further down, and you're getting closer to MWRA's facility, which they've requested us not be close. So they want us as
Okay.
far.
So
Yeah,
part of our spec will be, the location has to be in this area, and the
Within
area might, with some
10,
slop.
15 feet of this.
yeah,
If you ever go there, it's right next to
You'll
next to the
Okay.
road.
no, that's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
and the other thing is it's next to the bridge, the double arch bridge. And so one of the nice things about this location is you'll be able to see this bridge, that double arch historic bridge that was built in 1890s, that you can't see that view ever from any
Okay.
perspective right now because it's
Yeah.
over a road. So, and we were hoping to put an interpretive signage there just to kind of mark the area and the work of the bridge, because that
Okay.
is a highlight.
All right.
We'll go there for a walk one day, Will, and you'll see
No, that
Uh,
sounds fine. That sounds
how
good.
that vision evolved over time.
Okay.
So,
Okay, very good.
so I think this is a good conversation to talk about some of those ugly details that we need to kind of get into and think about with this process. So I think as a next step, since I have a lot of the documents, I can just put kind of dump the draft in here, like some of the details, and circulate it this week so that we can start and come back next week and start thinking about what we need to add, how we need to, make it better. And in the meantime, maybe reach out to a few contacts in the industry who have done stuff like this. And who might be a good one to reach out to is Priscilla with Town of Marlboro, because they had a Mass Trails grant. And I don't know that they put a footbridge of this scale in, but they did do some boardwalks.
Oh,
And they may have, I don't know that they had to go to bid, but I think Priscilla has a lot of experience going to bid for trail type stuff, given
Good.
some cost of her projects. So I think she might be able to lend us, guide us in some way or provide maybe a sample of some of the work that she's done. That
Yeah.
might be a great next step.
That'd be great. Yeah.
I know you said circulate. I'm gonna assume that you're gonna circulate to this OneDrive, so we all see the same.
Yes, I'll add it to OneDrive and then let everybody know that
Yes,
it's
perfect,
there.
perfect.
And then the rules are we can't deliberate on it together until next week. But we can make notes in the in the Word document, just do track changes so that, the changes are there and we see, and then we'll talk about it next week.
Open meeting, can I hypothetically say I have some questions and I know Will probably has some insight into it. I can email Will and ask the questions.
As long
Actually,
As long as you don't email me or.
No,
Sachi,
just one-to-one, Will and I.
Sachi or
I
yeah,
say-
you certainly may, because we have 5 members, or well, we have 4 at least, right? So
We have
the
5.
two
We have
of
5.
us, well, the 2 of us would not be a quorum.
Right,
So
okay,
we can talk it all we want, as long as we don't, sort of do a
Serial communication,
serial communication. Yeah.
where you
yeah,
then.
we
reach out
can't
to
talk then. I talk to
Until next
you, then
week.
you talk to Catherine.
Right.
Okay,
Okay, so that's good. I think, it's gonna be, we'll make good progress. I think this will be okay.
And we're looking to get this out by the end of the month.
Yeah, I think so, ideally. So I need to talk to, Tim and see what his timetable is at the end of the month. Because I'm gonna go away February 1st through the 10th. So it would be ideal if we could get our ducks in a row and get this, go through the process. If he needs to review it, if Rec wants to review it, it depends on Rec's meeting this month. I would rather not wait until Rec's meeting in February because that pushes us further out. So let me talk to Tim and see what he thinks about who needs to review this. And we'll go from there because it might be.
One question is Rec going to take over maintenance of this stuff?
No, we.
no, we're relying on
Rex will-
Rec because they do a lot of projects of this size. We don't need like
Right.
the.
No, but
municipal-
I mean, in terms of maintenance over the years, it'll be the Trails Committee that'll do it.
It's the Trails
Yes.
Committee, yeah.
Yep.
And that's why, we're hoping, yes, it's the Trails Committee's responsibility. Yeah.
Okay.
Hence the reason why we have the specifications for the fiberglass. I mean, they have a very long life, span. A
Yes.
lot of those things that we're going back, what, a year or so now, Catherine? When we
What-
talked to Dick and the fence, the bridge and all that stuff.
Yes, it was a
Um,
year.
So a lot of that consideration is part of the specs for the boardwalk, for the bridge is longevity without major maintenance.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like you can do a wooden bridge, but you would need to, replace it sooner, and there's all sorts of considerations. So we, as a committee back then, reviewed the idea. I think you were part of our committee at that point because you were an associate member, Will. And so that's where the fiberglass bridge, and we decided as a committee that given our size, and even though it's more expensive upfront, it's actually less expensive long-term when you think of maintenance requirements, especially for a bridge and for a small committee in a small town, limited fund.
Mm.
Remember the bridge we saw at Hopkinton State Park that day
Yeah,
with the DCR? That was fiberglass, right?
I forget, but and
I think it was. It was very pretty, actually.
It was. I think we tried to get the price on that, but I don't think they had that available.
Mm. No, but it was a handsome bridge. It's nice.
Mhm.
And it had guardrails for bikers and all that stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, we won't be able to do biking on it.
Yeah, we can't do biking.
Okay.
All right, so I think, we just have a peer trail maintenance. I don't know. So I think there's one, we need to replace a pole, the post on.
Oh,
Ward Road.
yeah, thank you, Catherine, about that. So I did speak to the facilities person who orders that, AKA Sue. And Sue says, just email her.
I don't understand who's Sue
Oh,
Wood.
so are you talking about what are we talking about? Maybe I'm jumping ahead.
Ward Road.
Yes. So I went down there. The post on the cul-de-sac is all rotted underneath the ground.
Is it
And
standing or falling?
I put it back into place. It's standing. You would, when I first went there, it looked fine, but once you touch it, it was like.
Yeah,
blip, 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 blip. So we need a 6-foot post. I could remount all the stuff that's currently on it and
Yep.
secure it into the ground. And then I was figuring to use that existing post, which is about 5 feet or so.
It's short.
It's short, but I was thinking about putting it over to
Oh.
where the lawn sign is, I guess that's what we'll call it, across the footbridge. And
Where the
put
yard
that
sign
more permanent, because basically the people that mow it just picked it up and threw it closer to the woods, get it out of their way.
Through the yard sign away, you mean?
Yeah, so where the yard sign is, so I sent you a picture of that. I don't know if you want to bring it up.
Did you email it or text?
Oh, text.
Oh, yeah. I
So,
did.
so remember when people come from Northborough Road, they go underneath 495 and they
Yeah.
always go the wrong way.
Yeah.
That sign is not the permanent solution. So I was thinking of reusing the post that's rotted at the cul-de-sac, put it into the ground. Yes, it would be lower, and then remount that lawn sign and nail it to it.
That's some hokey stuff right there. I like the reduce reuse thing. So, okay, for everybody, are you seeing my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so you're talking about, this is 495, so people are walking along here.
Yep. And then they supposed to take a left over that footbridge right there.
Right. Okay, yeah.
If you do go, maybe Google Earth will have it.
You think it'll have my sign?
Oh, there it is. So
There's the bridge. Okay, so people walk along here, they're supposed to cross here and
go
stay
that
this
way. Yeah, zoom out a little bit. So right where that white line is, the lawn sign was right around a little bit north of, go up top of your screen
no,
with
the
that
yard sign
dark line.
should
No,
be
no,
right
go with that white
Your
line
sign
is.
should be right here.
No, it should be where that white line is.
You
Right,
mean
right
to
there.
give
Yeah.
them direction before they get here?
Yes, because otherwise they go the wrong way.
Okay, so you see my dilemma is if it says the trail, I mean, I think I think we need another sign, that a reinforcing sign, right? So you have
Yes.
something here and then you have something here to remind them, then they cross over, right? Okay,
Yes.
so I'm with you, but we have to be very careful about what we install here because of the mowing. We can't create a scenario where they can't get wide mowers through, so we have to be on a very edge where they're not gonna mow
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I agree, okay.
So, yeah, so 2 signs. So what I did when I was there, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I found the sign, the lawn sign. I stuck it into the ground.
Yeah.
Probably
What's
in
the
be,
condition of it?
excuse me?
What's the condition of it?
Perfectly fine.
Oh, good. Okay. So,
So that's what I was thinking about there is, maybe 2 permanent ones or something. I'm open to either one. But you
okay,
need, I think you definitely need 2 signs. One for the people that come in underneath 495, so they
Mhm.
don't go, there's 2 ways you can go that's not approved.
This way,
Yeah,
this-
that
yeah.
way. So I was putting a sign where you can see like the dirt road, the tire tracks are,
Oh, I see why you want to put it up here. Don't go this way.
right?
Oh, I thought you meant here to don't go this side.
No,
Okay.
no, I want both, because once they come to the woods there, it's very natural to go right.
Yeah, it is. And there's a driveway of sorts.
Yes, so that whole driveway is very natural to go that way. So I was
Yeah.
gonna put a sign somewhere, maybe right at the woods, right at the wood line. I don't have no problem with that. Saying,
Yeah.
take a left, and then right close to the bridge.
Yeah.
There, yep.
So I have to order another sign anyway. Do you want me to order another yard sign, or do you want to do something different? Because we have some budget. If we wanted to do, well, the yard
Well,
sign's gonna be the easiest.
So you know what, the lawn sign has the metal bars in it, and
The H stake.
yeah, whatever that, I only want the placard. I don't need
Oh,
the
you don't
metal
need the H
stakes,
stake.
because
Okay, they come separate.
I was gonna put it in permanently, put a post into the ground permanently right around the tree line. And then staple that or nail that to the post, because it's big. It's not like a small little trail sign. It's big. It's 2 by 2.
Would it make sense, Tom, if we're going to go through the effort of installing a post, should we get an aluminum sign that will last forever?
Yeah, I don't care. I'm just, doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I mean, it might make sense. These yard signs aren't that expensive, but again, we're trying to put something that's a little more permanent so that people, and I think it warrants an aluminum sign, and we have some budget to do that with. So one question is, we need to talk to MWA about where we can put a sign post.
Yep.
And my other question is, what was your timeline? Did you want to do it this month-ish?
Well, the problem is if we dig a hole, it's getting, well, right now it's good, but if the ground gets frozen,
Yeah, so it might be a spring project, but
it might be a spring project. But I think if we buy all the materials and get this, whatever, the aluminum sign and all that stuff, then we basically have to dig 3 holes.
3?
Yeah, 1 at the cul-de-sac and those 2 that we just discussed.
Okay.
Did we remember the $1,000 from the accessibility committee?
Thank you. We
Mhm.
need to go to their meeting.
Okay, the next meeting is on the 9th.
When is that?
That's a Monday.
Is that next Monday?
Yes,
Is it an in-person meeting?
you know it.
Can you make that stop, please? I can't get to in-person meeting. Is it PM?
It's an in-person meeting. I'm afraid that's not going to stop.
Is it at 9 a.m.?
Yes, it is.
Can you get us on the agenda?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm proposing stuff for the agenda tomorrow morning. So yes.
Okay. So,
I mean,
so
I can represent the Trails Committee. There's no reason I can't.
I'd love to be there if you don't mind, and we can, yeah.
No, we'd love to have you. More the merrier.
I have to take off work now.
No, you're still garbly.
You've been drinking too much. We do serve cocktails at the meeting, so that's an
cheap.
inducement.
Is
Yeah.
that better? Any better?
A little bit better, but not too much.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, you
Loud
can.
and clear.
Can you see? You can't see me though. My
No.
light went out.
I wonder if it's a bandwidth issue or something. I know you said you have
Could
perfect
be.
bandwidth.
No,
but-
I have great internet.
Who's your internet provider?
Verizon. Although we are having a. I wonder if my camera's going out.
Could
Maybe
be.
it's just
Not
taking.
Oh, well, what was the question?
About the ADA meeting.
Yeah,
the
about,
ninth.
so can you ask if we can go first?
Yes, I will. I as long as we're on the agenda, I believe we can go first. Yes.
Thank you. So I can go back to work. That'd be great.
Yes, that would be good.
Okay. So, yeah, so that's great. And then, so we'll talk about so the idea was to accept the gift of $1,000 and try to use it for the trail to add accessibility. So,
Yes.
one of the things it could help us do and something we talked about is to, we've talked about making it accessible as far as physically walking. We talked about potentially adding some rest stops on the slope to make that a little bit nicer.
Yep.
But maybe this could help us pay for, making it more inclusive of other like sensitivities. What did we describe it as? Like a sensory trail.
Yeah.
Like people, so ways we could do, I'm just not exactly sure. I've done a little research, but what does the committee think about, something in that realm? Like we propose, this is the way that this money would help us kind of broaden the accessibility piece to being including more people with different types of disabilities, like sensory deprivation, or maybe it helps us add pay for the different languages that we're going to have, or do we have some audio feature for those who are unable to see, that kind of thing.
Yep, that would be good. I
Okay.
mean, I think they're fairly flexible.
Yeah, I want to kind of have a good, a solid plan so that they feel that we've done some due diligence. So we'll have to put some thinking around what that looks like.
Sounds good.
Okay, great. So that's on Monday. And then we'll regroup on Tuesday. I'll plan to send out stuff by the end of this week.
I have problems. I sent an email to you next Tuesday.
You're not here. Okay, are you okay if we continue to meet, but you can add input to the document?
Yeah, I can do that.
Because we'll follow up on we happen to have a meeting every Tuesday this month.
Right, but the 10th is not possible.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Bella, are you good for next week too, Tuesday?
Yes, I should be.
Okay, great. Anything else that we haven't talked about that we should?
No, just to go back to the sign stuff.
Oh, yeah,
We identified the 3 signs and it's a springtime project.
3 signs, springtime project, yes. And I believe, let's not go with a 6-foot fence because we were running out of space. I actually ran out of space on that signpost on Ward Road because it was so small.
Okay, yeah,
So if we go with an 8-foot pole, we have more play.
right. And that's the standard one. When we order it, we'll order 3 8-foot poles.
And I have a couple of those posts from a project, so we might have what we need. We might have the cement, we might have the gravel, we might have the post. I just have to do an inventory.
Okay, that'll be good. So it definitely be a spring thing that we'll do.
Okay. And we might be able to get, if an Eagle Scout or if a scout needs community
Yeah.
service hours, which sometimes they do, we could maybe reach out and get some help to do.
Yeah, that'll be a quick job for a scout.
And then we can work through the approvals with MWRA to figure out where they will allow us to do it. Because I think they'll be open to it because they have had a continuous problem with people on the wrong side.
Agreed.
And we can make sure we say no dogs and don't go this way.
What?
I know, I can't help it, but it's the way it is. And then, so I think we might have a new update next week as far as the notice to proceed for the grant, which would be nice. And then once we have the notice to proceed, we need to meet with DCR right away. And DPW, we need to schedule a meeting with the new superintendent and make sure we're all on the same page with this project before we kick off, so that, because it might be that DCR was going to move that gate anyway. And if they are, they might chip in some, and that would free up some money for.
But remember, Captain, those fence vendors, we did ask them to put a line item to move the fence.
Oh, yeah, we did because it's ultimately our responsibility. But remember the little tidbit I learned that DCR was looking to update that fence anyway.
Right.
They
Yes.
wanted to share some cost with us. Hey, that just opens us up to use the money for, more accessibility.
Yep. Yes.
Along that line, do we want to invite the new head of DPW, or do we even know if there's who the new head will be?
I think they're being sworn in at the end of this week or something. I thought there was some board of selectmen. Has it been a recommendation made?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But I
think
was
it's-
just thinking we might want to reach out and invite them to a meeting at some point.
Well, we do. We have to, because we need DPW. Well, first we need to meet with them ourselves, and then we need to meet with with DCR to make sure that, because if DPW is putting in the ADA compliant parking, we need DCR on board and everybody to look at the place and the space and make sure everyone's good to go.
Okay.
Okay.
After this meeting, can I ask you a question after the meeting is over about MPIC,
Yes, I don't know what that is.
Master Plan Implementation Committee?
Okay. Yes, you can. So do you want to call me, you mean, or you want me to just stop recording when I'm ready?
Yeah, you can just stop recording when you're
Okay,
ready.
great. So I think, is there anything else that we need to chat about? No, we're good.
I did send in that thing. Do you want me to distribute that to other people, or you want to
The
look at that
inclusive
first?
piece, yeah, so that's not on our agenda this time, but I'll put it on for next week. Will,
Okay. All right, sounds good.
inclusive statement, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah. And so, okay, so if there's nothing else to talk about, does someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
I'll second it.
8:47 PM. And that was Will and Tom. Okay, and let's do a roll call vote. Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
Isabella Bogdansky,
Yes.
Thomas McCoolier,
Yes.
Will Warren,
Yes.
and Kathy Key. Great, thank you all, and have a good night, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Bye. Have a good night.